Hey guys, this is another episode of Binance Live. Welcome, welcome. And really excited to have George and Kevin from Wood Network with us. This is my first Binance Live, so super excited to have you guys here. And as you guys are kind of starting to tune in from everywhere in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So today we'll go over a few things, but before we do that, George and Kevin, would you mind giving kind of quick self intros?
Yeah, sure.
Go on, Kevin. You go first.
I'll go first. Thanks for having us. I'm Kevin. I lead the DeFi efforts at Woo Network. One of my main job is leading the development of Woo Network's decentralized exchange, which is called WOOFi. I think we are gonna get into a lot of details about WOOFi today. So joined Woo in 2021. Before that, I was the CEO of BNB Chain since 2017, and before joining crypto, I was a cybersecurity consultant at PwC.
Nice,
very
nice,
excited
very cool.
to be here.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
so just to introduce myself, I'm George. So I haven't been at Woo as long as Kevin. I've actually only been here about 7 weeks, but it feels like I've been here a lot longer because of the fact of how quickly we move at Woo and just how much we've been shipping over the past month. But I've been a very long-term member of the community, dating back to early 2021 before the peak mania of the bull run. And yeah, it was back then that I heard about Woo Network and the mission to enable traders to trade with zero fees and kind of keep more of what they earn. And that was something that really resonated with me, this kind of vision to enable people to better their lives. And ever since, I've just been absolutely enthralled in Woo, still am. And my role at Woo is heavily centered in marketing. It's kind of multifaceted, so I'm involved with the social media, I write articles, and I also work very closely with Kevin, who's on the stream with me. I support him with WOOFi marketing. So I'm sort of reaching out to different projects, trying to figure out ways to collaborate. We have some really exciting things in the works with NFTs and sort of integrations that we're always looking to kind of push. But yeah, you can think of my role as fairly multifaceted.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome. Well, and as for myself, I'm Kevin as well, so second Kevin. And I work at BNB Chain, focusing on growing the DeFi ecosystem. And it's kind of kind of funny because I actually started in crypto in 2016, working on supply chain management. So I was one of the competitors to VeChain. So actually, it's kind of interesting that both of the Kevins worked in that same area. And then I moved on to DeFi in 2017. So very excited to kind of learn more about Woo Network and WOOFi. So why don't we do this before we kind of jump into today's questions? I know that the Woo Network team has a special treat for the community. So George, if you want to take it, let us know.
Yeah, sure. So for those of you tuning in, you should see a little QR code up here. All you need to do is grab your mobile phone, and if you scan that QR code, it should take you right to a Google form. And inside that Google form are 3 very short questions to kind of learn what the answers are. You're going to have to basically follow us throughout the live stream. We'll give kind of all that information, and then if you follow us on Twitter as well and submit your wallet address in that form, do that, and you could be one of 20 winners of $100 of BNB. So there's some really juicy prizes up for grabs today. All you have to do is just scan this, kind of listen very carefully throughout, and you could be one of those lucky 20 people.
Awesome, awesome. So learn and earn. So all right, so let's get started. So first question to you, Kevin, is can you just give us an introduction of what Woo Network is?
Yeah, sure. Woo Network actually does a lot of things, but I will try to be concise. Basically, I think before talking about Woo Network, we need to talk a little bit about Chronos Research, because Chronos Research actually is incubator of Woo Network. Chronos Research itself is a high frequency trading firm, one of the top player in the industry, trade on a lot of the major exchanges. I think in 2019 they decided to incubate Woo Network. Woo Network actually started as a liquidity network. So it's similar concept as the TradFi dark pool, but a little bit different since it's not really dark pool, it's transparent. Basically in the liquidity network, Chronos aggregates liquidity from all the major exchanges, including Binance, into a aggregated order book for institutional firm to tap into. It also includes some other exchanges if they want to get instant like deep liquidity. And it started with this institutional services, and then I think in 2020, Woonower actually also launched a centralized trading platform called WOOX, which offers zero fee trading as the main selling point. And in 2020, starting from late 2020, Woonower started to experiment DeFi market making and DeFi trading. We started with a DEX called Dodo on the BSC chain. Experiment the market making strategy on chain, and since then we are I think Kronos already market making a lot of the DEXs, including, for example, DYDX, Apollo X, which is also a per order book DEX of BSC, Dodo, Hashflow, of course, WOOFi, which we are going to get into. So yeah, I think Woonower, the ethos about Woonower is try to provide the best trading experience, no matter if you're trading CFI or DeFi. And that's why we build like a suite of product to address the needs from the user. And in addition to that, we also have our WooDAO, which is formed by the contributor in our community. The main goal is basically to grow the brand awareness of Woonower, also grow the user of our product. At the same time, try to form partnership in DeFi to enhance the utility, of course, as well as the liquidity of the Woo token. Yeah, that's like a very quick intro about what Woonower is.
Got it. So like a full suite of products, and essentially, aggregating liquidity from both CFI and DeFi to provide the kind of highest depth of liquidity for institutions and for traders. Awesome. And
Exactly,
then I guess the second thing would be, which I think would be more the focus of this live stream, would be kind of what is WOOFi, right? I think maybe George, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So I think, yeah, Kevin kind of alluded to the fact that we have like a suite of products, and we have one centralized product which kind of allows people to trade with zero fees, which is WooX. And that's like, really, really good trading infrastructure. But we kind of had this vision that we wanted to provide everyone, right, not just like our KYC users, but kind of anyone and everyone around the world with like access to the deepest liquidity, the best trading infra. And so that kind of meant that we kind of had to migrate to DeFi, and from that kind of vision, WOOFi was born. And I kind of think of so it's a decentralized exchange, right, at its heart. But I kind of like to think of it as kind of like a Swiss Army knife. So bear with me on that analogy. But you can kind of think about like how in crypto, I feel like convenience is so important, especially like when you're on chain. There's so much like hassle, so many hurdles and obstacles that you can face when it comes to like wanting to swap and wanting to earn. And WooFi is very much like that Swiss Army knife with a suite of tools, that's readily accessible at your fingertips to just make DeFi that much easier and better. And so if you were like unfolding like the Swiss Army knife, there would be like a series of tools in there, one of them being swaps. So if you're looking to swap your assets, WooFi can basically do that for you with like the very best price execution, because we have like a microscopic 0.025% swap fee, which is like one of the lowest fees around when it comes to swaps. We have cross-chain swaps. So if you're looking to move your assets cross-chain, you shouldn't have to like manually bridge, right? There's with that comes like unnecessary fees. It takes a lot of time. With WooFi, you can swap BNB from BNB Chain, so like another asset on another chain, in like one click. So it just makes it super easy. We have institutional yield opportunities right now, which I'm sure we're going to talk about and explore in much more detail. And we also have Woo staking. So if you like the Woo token, and maybe you're a hodler like myself, maybe you don't like trading that much, but you just kind of want to earn some passive income, then again, like WooFi makes that super easy for you by allowing you to kind of like, deposit, let's say, Woo on BNB chain. You can set it and forget it and start earning like really good APYs. So yeah, I like that analogy of the Swiss Army knife. I think that's probably the best way that I can describe WooFi.
Got it. No, definitely. I mean, it's a great set of tools for kind of whatever your kind of trading needs, right? And I think that's a great transition into our next topic, which is the supercharger votes, which is kind of is like the main theme, right, of today's live stream. And I think it's a um, essentially a new way for kind of introducing institutional grade kind of yield opportunities, but for the average retail user. So I think it'd be great if you guys can do an introduction of what supercharger votes are, kind of how it works, where the yield is coming from. Just a quick general intro would be great.
Yeah,
sure.
I think I can take that one. Maybe it's perfect time for me to share my screen and just show people how it works.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yep.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah,
it's loading up.
There we go.
Okay. So yeah, but the supercharger vault is essentially like WOOFi's unique way for user to provide liquidity into the WOOFi swap. Because in AMM, typically user need to provide, when they provide liquidity, need to provide a pair of assets in a pool. But with WOOFi supercharger, basically user just need to provide one asset in one of the supercharger vault, and then basically these assets will be used to provide liquidity on WOOFi. So where is the yield coming from? I think basically what the unique thing about the WOOFi supercharger is it actually has like two different strategies in it. That basically like the assets in the supercharger vault is available for the WOOFi LP to borrow and market make on WOOFi, provide liquidity on WOOFi. And when the assets is not borrowed, we basically just park the idle assets into another third-party DeFi protocol. So on BSC, we deposit those assets into Alpaca Finance, just lend those assets into Alpaca Finance, so that the yield of the supercharger vault is a combination of the lending interest payment and some DeFi lending DeFi yield from a third-party protocol. So it actually can maximize the capital efficiency. So like on this screen, you can see we break down the APR. Basically from the strategy, there are two strategy, and we also show the percentage of the capital used. So the strategy API is basically a weighted average, and we launched like additional incentive yesterday for the supercharger vault, where we are going to provide XWOO rewards on top of the strategy APR. So now, like, you basically, if you just simply lend your BNB in the supercharger vault, you're getting 13% APR, which is really nice considering it's a single-sided staking. So the XWOO is actually basically the LP token, the stake the WOO token in the WOOFi staking module. So once user claim the XWOO, their WOO is automatically earning staking yields. So so everything about WOOFi, I think, as you learn more, is about efficiency. That's basically like what supercharger vault in a nutshell is. It's basically like an institutional lending, also leveraging DeFi Lego to maximize the yields.
Got it. Very cool. So I think what's interesting to me is that given that these are single-sided votes, that the APRs are actually quite juicy, right? Because typically, with these types of APRs, you're essentially going to have to do double-sided typical LPing, which would mean you're essentially having to take on impermanent loss risk. So I guess here we don't have IL kind of concerns, right? Because we're doing single-sided staking.
100%.
Correct. Correct. I think to that, maybe we can explain a little bit about how the WOOFi swap works. Because the reason user doesn't need to consider impermanent loss is because the way WOOFi swap works is the LP of WOOFi swap is not like passive LP, but it rather is like the professional market maker behind the scene. So they are basically quoting the price. We actually use our own oracle. They're actively quoting the price on chain. So when user trade on WOOFi, they're actually trading against the professional market maker. So the market maker basically help user to manage the impermanent loss. So user don't have to worry about it, and the market maker basically just pay a fixed interest on those loans, so the user can just earn single-sided yields.
Got it. And so I guess if we go back to the earn page, right, on the Supercharger votes, we saw that the APR was made up of two sections. A part of it was kind of going to a third platform, such as Alpaca, but then the first part is WOOFi, right? And this is, I guess, what you were referring to in terms of the professional or proactive market making. Is that where this yield was coming from?
Correct. You can see like 60% of the TVL is actually has been borrowed by the market maker to provide liquidity. So yeah, if you want to go to detail, like in this vault, there are 2,000 BNB. So the market maker already borrowed 1,200. So the market maker they have the flexibility to borrow or return anytime they want. So they can make like based on the market, when it's more volatile, they can borrow more. When it's more it's quiet, maybe they just return some of the assets. But even if they return, the assets is still earning yields from like a third party protocol. That's how it works.
This is kind of like how the name was born, right? Like this, you think about the Supercharger. This isn't just about supercharging your yields. It's kind of like it's killing two birds with one stone. Whilst it's also supercharging WOOFi liquidity, right? And if you think about that, there are advantages there in the sense that if we can provide really good APRs for investors, and we can also bootstrap liquidity and use that to enable any WOOFi swapper to trade in real size, like we're talking, like 100K plus swaps with like we can facilitate those with like the least possible slippage. I think the main attraction for these, right, is like a lot of listeners might be like BNB maxis. They might love the BNB token, right? And you just don't want to have to pair that with you don't have to pair that with another token when you're providing liquidity, right? You're going to want to stay long on BNB. You don't want to have to compromise and pair it with another token. And these kind of supercharger vaults allow you to do that. And even with like the USDT, right, especially with like market conditions, I imagine like some people will be sitting in stable coins, and it's like everyone wants to find the best yields, sustainable yields. They want to be able to like lock up their USDT, knowing in a year's time when they come back, it will still be there. Because I think everyone is so like distrusting right now in crypto, and they should be, like, rightly so, because of like we're still early, and there still are hacks that occur. Like we see it happening all the time. Whereas like these WOOFi supercharger vaults, we've had them audited twice, and it's like that's why I think these are really exciting. These kind of earning opportunities for someone who has these kind of stable coins that they're sat on. They want to be doing a bit of earning, and these are just readily available.
No, definitely. I think especially for stable coins, right, in this current environment, I know a lot of people are potentially sitting in stables waiting for the right time. And as you guys are waiting for that, might as well pick up some juicy APR. And I guess the other thing I want to mention is that from what I understand, right, what's interesting also is that this is more of the real yield narrative, right, which is the yield that we're getting, right, it's actually generated from strategies. It's not purely from inflationary tokenomics, right? There's, for example, on the WOOFi side, actually the market makers are paying to kind of use these funds, to borrow these funds. And then same thing with on Alpaca side, right? It's actually generating these yields. So I think this just the fact that it's real yield means that it's more sustainable. And so I think that's what's also very interesting to me, is that you've got not only is it attractive, but it's very sustainable as well.
Yeah, great that you mentioned the real yield. Yeah, that's something we have been always trying to work towards. Also including for our staking, a lot of the staking when the staking yields are just coming from like inflationary token, but our staking yields actually coming from the swap fee. So all the all the swap fee here, like 80% of the swap fee that WOOFi charges will be used to buy back Woo token and give it to the staker. Yeah, on a daily basis. So we provide staking actually on multiple chain. You can see like BSC actually has the highest TVL. Most of Woo staked in WOOFi.
Yes, very cool. I think one thing you brought up a little bit, I think, but I want to spend a little bit more time to dig a little bit deeper into it, which is kind of the way that we are doing market making, right? So it's more of a professional or proactive type of market making as opposed to AMM. So your the kind of Uniswaps, right, that have automated market making. We're using a different model here. So just wondering from your view, can you share kind of the top line pros and cons between these two, and kind of why you guys chose to go with the PMM route?
Yeah.
Sure.
You start, Kevin.
I can go first, and maybe George can add on. I think the most important advantage of proactive market making is the efficiency, right? So when Chronos started experimenting on-chain market making, they automatically find out AMM is not suitable for like professional trading firm, just because the LP in AMM is passive, right? So the price of AMM doesn't move until someone trading the pool. So the LP is always getting basically arbitraged. So for professional market maker, they don't do this kind of strategy. They need to actively quote the price they are acceptable. They're willing to accept. So that's why we use we call that synthetic PMM. Basically, we have our own oracle running on BSC, which constantly pushing the price as well as some other parameters based on the Woo networks, the centralized Woo network order book. So that's the price, basically the price that the market maker is willing to trade. And so when user query on WOOFi, the price they are getting is basically the price from our own oracle. Just because usually for a lot of the assets, the liquidity is actually better on centralized exchanges. So that's why you can see here, like if you want to trade 100 BNB, we show this price comparison to user. So you can see that we can provide the best trading execution than most of the AMM. Yeah, so I mean the pros of the PMM is obviously efficiency, and for user they can get better price. And it doesn't also, and I think another point is we don't need to rely on a lot of TVL just in order to provide like a very good price. So it actually helps with the capital efficiency. So that's why I think there's a DeFi Llama, they actually released a DEX board, which is very interesting. Like you can find WOOFi currently, the total volume is ranked around number 20. But if you look at the volume divided by TVL, that's basically the capital efficiency we are talking about. Like WOOFi
Nice.
basically rank number 1. Like it's almost 2.8, which means like if you have 1 million TVL, the pool is doing 2.8 million on top of just 1 million TVL. So in AMM, it's not possible. If you only have small liquidity, the slippage will be very, very large. The price impact will be very large. Yeah, that's the pros for PMM. I think there's also cons, like for PMM comparing with AMM. I think it's mostly it's about availability. Also the ability to support more long tail assets. So on AMM, since the AMM, the liquidity is always there. So no matter when how volatile the market is, the liquidity is always there. But for PMM, also for RFQ, maybe sometimes the market maker, maybe they are not online, or if some trades they like maybe it's too large for the liquidity. So maybe the market maker can only take portion of it. So the AMM is a very good like supplement to PMM, since the liquidity is always there. And the other thing is for long tail assets, just super easy to set up liquidity for long tail assets in AMM. And maybe it's for some of newer assets, it's hard for a professional market maker to provide liquidity. Yeah, it's a lot information. Hope I explained it clearly.
There is also that added advantage as well of, like, since we use our own synthetic proactive market making, in contrast to trading with an AMM powered DEX, right? In contrast to trading with like a Uniswap fork, you can't get sandwich attacked on WOOFi. And I feel like there's something which is like, we don't really talk about it all that much. The idea of people getting front run and getting exploited, but it does happen, and especially people trading in size, because your transactions can get left in the mempool, and people can take advantage of that. With WOOFi, your trades are safe, so that when you punch that trade that Kevin has on his screen of 100 BNB into USDT, you're going to get basically the quote that you're seeing there, and you're not going to be left high and dry, disappointed and upset with like a small amount of BNB that you just weren't expecting.
Got it. Cool. So let me just play that back. So I think a lot of cool things. So I think one, definitely really like the execution comparison at the bottom, just so that as a user, you know exactly what you're getting and kind of like across the board. And I used to see that a lot in like car insurance, and it was like, oh, this is great. When they do that, it's for transparency, right? I think the second thing is, I guess the difference between PMMs and AMs really comes down to kind of liquidity, right? So if you have an asset that's quite liquid, has a lot of trading volume, where market makers are interested, I think PMMs seem to make better sense. But if you're kind of a newer project, right,
Oh, Kevin, I think you've gone on mute.
Right.
We still can't hear you, Kevin.
By the way, we should be buying BNB instead of selling BNB. We'll still get the best price.
Kevin, do you want to try rejoining? Seeing if that helps? Yeah, in the meantime, guys, just a reminder of the QR code in the top right of the screen. Yeah, make sure if you're listening to scan the QR code. It will open up a Google form. I think we have revealed a lot of the answers to the quiz so far. So make sure to open up that form, submit your answers, follow us on Twitter. We post quite regularly. Yeah, we have regular content coming out. So if you want to hear the latest and greatest updates with WOOFi, anything to do with Supercharger vaults, make sure to follow us and submit that BEP20 address in that Google form.
Hey, nice. Hey guys, am I back?
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, don't worry, Kevin. You gave us the perfect opportunity to plug the quiz. Okay, so
that's what I was doing. Exactly what I was doing.
It was all planned.
It's all planned, guys. Cool. So I think, sorry, I was just saying that, I think for newer projects, right? If you're just starting out and you just launch a token, then AMs might make more sense. And I think that was probably one of the initial use cases, right, for kind of these longer tail projects to have initial liquidity from the get-go, as opposed to having to wait until you became a large project and in a large community, and then having listing on central exchanges, you can already start. So I think it's just a different use case for different stages of growth, right? So it's not really a one's better than the other, so much as what stage of growth are you in, and what makes more sense at that point in time. And I think the last thing I want to mention is kind of the capital efficiency, right? So from that chart on DeFi Llama, we see that WOOFi essentially has the highest or the best capital efficiency. And the way I'm understanding it, and I'm kind of posting this also as a question, is it because the funds, right, the TVL, instead of being spread out across a spectrum as it would have to be on a AM kind of model, it can actually be used kind of closer to current market price, and so that's why each dollar TVL is being used kind of more often, if you will, versus something like an AM where your liquidity might be spread out between, let's say, 0 and infinity, you're actually concentrating that that price range, and therefore the per dollar volume of TVL can support a higher dollar value of trades. Is that the way to understand it, or is it something different and I'm completely misunderstanding this?
No, you're spot on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so because on the, for example, on WOOFi, when user query for a trade, the quote he's getting is not completely depending on the TVL in the pool, like AMM. Basically, it's depending on a lot of things: the price that the market maker quote, as well as some other parameters to reflect basically the liquidity on the centralized exchange order book. So it's not constrained by the TVL in the pool. Of course, like if user trade like a lot of BNB, the pool WOOFi pool could be imbalanced. So the market maker can adjust some of the price or parameters to attract the trader from the other side, just to help balance the pool, so that we have a more balanced combination of assets.
Got it. Makes sense. And actually, this leads me to my next question, which is, so we see that in the Supercharger votes, right? Essentially, right now the focus seems to be on BNB and USDT. What's kind of in the works for the future? So whether it's upgrades to the Supercharger votes, whether it's newer assets that will be added, can you give us an insight as to what are the next steps?
I can start on this one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then
sure.
Kevin can add some color. So I think our vision with these Supercharger vaults was always to make these eventually available for every single asset on WOOFi. So we have most major blue chip assets, for instance, on BNB Chain, right? The goal would be to provide these for each of those assets, and in doing so, bootstrap the liquidity for all of those, and then with that, capture yet more volume from BNB Chain. And if you think we have that very small 0.025% swap fee, as that generates more volume, we use that to buy back more WOO from the open market and redistribute that to stakers on WOOFi. So it starts this lovely positive feedback loop. And you can think about what we're doing right now really is just the start of that journey. Kevin, do you want to maybe add a bit more, add any more onto that?
Yeah, you covered it really well. I think obviously trying to add more assets is one thing, and the other thing is trying to accommodate more TVL. Basically, what that means is basically we need to increase the borrowing needs from the market maker. So that will be to do that, we need to basically just enhance the volume of WOOFi, try to get more order flow. This is actually something we are working very hard towards. So WOOFi, I think one thing we didn't mention is that WOOFi is probably the only DEX that's paying aggregators or any DApp that's sending volume to WOOFi. So we are paying. Remember, we use 80% of the swap fee to reward staker, but the rest 20% is actually left for the broker. We call a WOOFi broker. So if you send WOOFi volume, and if you're a project, you can be aggregator, you could be any DeFi protocol, even metaverse. Like we are working with some metaverse project on BSC. If you basically host the front end and send volume to WOOFi, we provide rebates in stablecoin, not in our token. We provide stablecoin, a volume-based rebate to the broker. So so our main job is to basically increase the source of order flow for WOOFi, and keep enhancing the capital efficiency, so that the market maker is willing to borrow more, and we can accommodate more TVL for the Supercharger, so more people can earn yields with the institutional borrowers.
Got it. Very cool. So actually, just to touch on that a little bit, right? So you mentioned that there's actually some sort of like widget or some sort of plugin that project can essentially have on their kind of front end to drive traffic to WOOFi. Is that correct?
There's no widget at the moment, but something we might work in the future. But currently, we provide integration docs. So if you're a DeFi project, they can easily just follow that doc that integrate WOOFi smart contract in their aggregators, for example. I think
Got it.
almost all the major aggregators, 1inch, Matcha, Paraswap, they all have Paraswap. Yeah, they all integrated WOOFi already.
We call it
Got
the
it.
WOOFi broker scheme is the name, and it can be DEX aggregators, but it could also be literally any project. So for instance, even if it were, let's say, like a project that was based in the metaverse, right? What we can do is essentially even penetrate into the metaverse, allow these metaverse projects to have things like banks and ATMs, and allow their users or their citizens to basically trade in the digital world without like ever having to leave that app. So it's really the kind of possibilities are endless for WooFi. There are so many projects that could yet integrate with us that maybe don't know about us or we don't know about them, but that's something that we're always trying to connect with projects to essentially help them with that added element of like convenience, and also, like Kevin said, give them nice little rebates as a thank you as well for sort of directing their volume through us.
Got it.
Yeah,
So almost like an aggregate. Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, I was just going to quickly mention that we actually have this on the dashboard. Like you can see in the pie chart where the volume is coming from. Like a big part, over half of them on BSC is coming from 1inch actually. But we already integrated a lot of volume sources, and the others that's basically like some arbitragers who is arbitraging between maybe WOOFi and other BSC dexes.
Got it. Very cool. So, I mean, the way I look at this is this WOOFi, it's an aggregator of aggregators, right? Because like before this, my understanding would be that 1inch is like the top aggregator, right, of DEXs, but you guys are aggregating 1inch into WOOFi, so they're only one of many other aggregators. So this is very cool. So you're aggregating all the aggregators in one place, which would help with having deeper liquidity and kind of better trade execution. So this is very cool. So I'm beginning to see how you guys are able to get to the type of capital efficiency that you guys have. It's by literally connecting everyone in this one place. And I think actually on the metaverse point, actually I think could be very cool, right? Where trading experience doesn't have to be the way that we've always seen it. If we can integrate into the metaverse, right? Perhaps like you mentioned, you're just running around in the sandbox, right? Or you're running around in Vulcanverse or Radio Kaka, USM, whatever it is, and then you go on, during one of your missions. It could be that you need to go to the bank to take out some loans, or just and it could be integrated in such a way that you might not even know you're trading, perhaps, but it ends up being a trade in the backend that's then routed through WOOFi. But essentially, it is actually just powering more interesting metaverse experiences. But it's all integrated in a seamless manner. So I look forward to that day where all of that could happen in that way, rather than it's just opening up another web page, right? So very cool. And I think a few more questions on my side. So I guess in terms of the from the institutional perspective, right? When they come to WOOFi and when they come to the One Network, how are they comparing kind of their opportunity or in the opportunity cost of participating in the One Network versus perhaps some other options that they might have as institutions?
I think maybe like one of the things that institutions would be looking for is to be able to trade very large amounts of assets with, like, how should we say, minimal slippage. I'm kind of alluding to what you might call over the counter kind of trades. And I really do believe this is the kind of sort of maybe direction that WOOFi can head in the sense that, as we've been alluding to with these superchargers, I think the main issue for WOOFi, right, is that we have such great opportunities on here that, as with many other projects, we're trying to break out of an echo chamber and help raise awareness of these so that people can find out about them, right? And if people are able to find out about our supercharger vaults, and they are able to kind of, realize the fact that this is real sustainable yield with fantastic APYs, with like top-notch kind of Fort Knox security, then this is the kind of thing where we can really, really deepen this liquidity to make those kind of large OTC trades possible for institutions, right? And these they're not good. They're not going to be going to kind of like Uniswap forks to do this, right? Because of the aforementioned risks of sandwich attacks and the kind of slippage that they can receive, and especially with large sums, right? Our SPMM liquidity in the 0.025% fee can make quite a large difference. And I feel like any institution looking to get the very best bang for their buck, which I'm sure they would be, would pay that, put in that extra step to trade on WOOFi versus another, let's say another DEX.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. I think George does bring up an important point, especially when you're looking at doing anything at size, which is potential front running and MEV, right? And I think that's something that, with the way that WOOFi is set up, it's actually completely avoided. And so you don't have to worry about some searchers or some miners or some bots who's searching through the mempool and trying to take advantage of orders that are there, and trying to front run you by having putting higher gas fees, or trying to take advantage of that. So I think for institutions, especially when you have large size orders, you do worry about the potential impact of someone actually knowing that order beforehand, and then kind of buying up or selling in front of your order, and then therefore giving you pretty crappy execution, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not even just about like swapping. I think it also links into earning as well. And maybe, when we say institutions, I'm thinking about other large entities as well. And things that come to my mind are things like DAOs, right? And you think about like how many DAOs exist right now in DeFi, and many of these will have large treasuries that they will have strategies, that they'll be employing to make sure that they're earning. And again, like I imagine that most of these DAOs inside their treasuries will have stablecoin funds. And again, this provides another fantastic opportunity for these DAOs and other entities with these large treasuries that are looking to sit on stable coins for them to earn. Because otherwise, right, I don't think any kind of project wants to just be sat in coins that aren't doing anything. It's always comes back to efficiency, right? And we kind of I think we can be that kind of layer for DAOs and these other big entities to earn safely and securely, and get like I feel like the APR on the screen speaks for itself, right? So yeah, that's just another thought that crops into my mind, is how we could be useful for DAOs.
Got it. Makes sense. And I'm just wondering, right? Like, so we had an initial discussion around proactive market making versus automated market making, and kind of the different use cases. But do you guys see a potential where PNMs can advance or evolve to a point where it actually can take over the automated market making completely, and kind of be able to become a use case no matter what stage a project is in?
Yeah, personally, I think it's not going to replace AMM, just because of some of the reason we just mentioned. Like AMM is just super easy to create liquidity for new assets, long tail assets. And the other thing is the availability, like always available liquidity. Because for PMM, obviously it takes a little bit more upkeep to constantly provide user the best trading experience. But for AMM, once you deploy the smart contract, it just runs by itself, right? So I think they will work together, so to provide you, the on-chain user, the best trading experience, trading execution. So actually, a lot of people currently, I think a lot of people, when they trade some decent size, most people, they're not going to just go to one single DEX, no matter if it's PMM or AMM. No, most people just go to one of the aggregators to execute their trades. But most people actually are not aware that when they execute the trades, for example, on 1inch, a lot of those trades are split to different portions, and some of them are sent to PMM, some of them are sent to maybe some RFQ DEX. The rest maybe sent to AMMs. So especially on BNB chain, there's a lot of there's a variety of DEXs, AMM, PMM, also a ton of professional market maker on BSC. So that's why actually I think that's also one of the reasons that why BSC has the most active trading activities across I think across all the blockchain. So just because you can always get you can always almost get the same execution as CFI on BSC, even if you're trading decent size for BNB, BTC, so yeah, I think PMM or professional market maker on-chain market making is going to work very closely with AMM so that users don't really need to worry about which liquidity source they need to pick. So yeah, so I think in general it's really useful, and it's very important for any blockchain ecosystem to have different types of DEXs in order to provide user the best trading experience. So they can just keep their assets in their wallet. They don't need to worry like maybe when they want to trade, whether they are going to get like a high quality trade execution.
I kind of agree with Kevin there on that idea that AMMs and PMMs work together. But my kind of belief is that you see how DEX aggregators kind of optimize trading, right, by kind of routing trades through the best DEXs, and then what you're seeing is like wallets which are then kind of almost like integrating with aggregators, which are like allowing you to swap in the app itself without having to visit a DEX aggregator or the DEX itself. And I wonder if like in the future what we'll see is these kind of like super apps. And I feel like this is kind of the direction in which maybe things will head, whereby you kind of have something which is akin to a wallet, which is literally allowing you to do everything and anything that you could need, like swapping, staking, earning. And maybe in these kind of super apps, WOOFi wouldn't be so visible, but maybe it would be the kind of liquidity layer that that would be making those giant trades possible inside that super app. But that's just one possible theory of how I think it's playing out. And I think within that super app, you would have PMMs and AMMs kind of working together to facilitate the trading of all of those different blue chips as well as those long tails, so that you could pretty much trade anything and everything with the very best price execution by harnessing the power of both.
Yeah, maybe that super app is a future DeFi metaverse. So actually with that, I know we have some questions coming in. Are you guys maybe like okay to answer some of the questions from the audience?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
So I think, so if you guys click on comments, I think you can see. I'll let you guys pick and choose the questions. If you guys scroll to I think the first one was actually from Abanov about how long do you think DeFi can fully replace CFI? And do you see both financial investment tools coexisting? And what role will Woo Network play?
Yeah, I can take that one. I think, to be honest, I think DeFi and CFI will coexist, but DeFi will get larger and larger, like market share. Yeah, for CFI, since just the easy access to fiat, I think CFI is gonna definitely get more and more regulated, but people still need CFI as like a fiat gateway. And of course, like DeFi, currently the user experience is still not perfect. Like if you want to get a normal people to like set up a MetaMask and start to trade on DEXs, it's still pretty hard. A lot of friction. Could be a little bit scaring for people to do that, like for the first time. So a lot of people will still be more comfortable using CFI, but I mean, for DeFi, definitely DeFi is growing bigger, and I think it's not going to stop. The market share will just keep growing. So yeah, I think it's gonna coexist and basically just meet different needs from the user.
Cool. second set of questions is around security. So, how many security audits has WOOFi gone through? Who has done these audits?
We've had two. One by originally by Certic, I believe, and then another one which was conducted by PeckShield. And yeah, any of those like issues that were or any of those things that arose in there have all been dealt with. So yeah, we take a very like belt and braces approach. At Woo Network, we've always like security has always been our number one priority. I think we're very keen to learn the lessons of like our forebears, and in doing so, we've realized that like it's best to be absolutely thorough before rolling out products and ensuring that they are as safe as they can possibly be. And that's exactly what we've done for the WOOFi Supercharger folks.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and apologies,
actually, we did.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we did 2 audits just for the Supercharger vault, and actually for all the WOOFi module, we probably have done, I think, probably at least 5 or 6 audits just for like the swap staking. So every time we ship any, like before we ship any major updates, we will engage an auditor to make sure it's secure.
Got it. Security is of the utmost importance. And guys, apologies if I kind of butcher your name. So Osigui, it's asking about how long has this project been in existence and what are the risks involved in interacting with the platform?
So we launched in. Go on, you got this, Kevin.
Oh yeah, we launched in I think it's almost a year now. We launched in early October last year on BSC actually. So it's almost a year. But the market making strategy behind WOOFi has been running for almost 2 years. As I mentioned, we started market making on other DEXs, other PMM DEXs, just to experiment that market making strategy. And once we feel that strategy is mature and we can properly manage the impairment loss, we decided to productize it and make improvements on top of that and launch our own product. Now in terms of risk, I think in DeFi there's nothing like 100% secure. Like there's always some inherent risk with the smart contract, but we will do the best we can to engage auditors, of course, be super prudent in our development process, and we also have a very robust monitoring process to try to detect any abnormal activity on the app as soon as possible. So.
Got it.
Yeah, George,
and a question from.
No, I think you did a good job there, Kevin.
Okay.
Cool. Question from Aniket. What is the science behind the Supercharger vault? I think we kind of went over this, but Kevin, can you just summarize maybe in 2 to 3 sentences?
Yeah, the Supercharger will use a combination of different strategy. As I mentioned, the main one is basically a user's assets can be lent to the market maker to provide liquidity on WOOFi, and market maker pay an interest to the user. And you can see here, like for BNB, the market maker is paying 9%, which is almost double the lending yields of Alpaca. So it's combined two different strategy and maximize the yields. The market maker can borrow up to 90% of the vault. For some people who may need some they may have some urgent capital needs, they can instantly we still have some capital for people to instantly withdraw from WOOFi. Other than that, because the market maker needs to rebalance the position, we actually have this one week settlement process. Like we settle that on every Monday, so user can request withdraw anytime they want, and the assets will be available usually by end of Monday every week. So if you can just request on Sunday, you get your assets on Monday. It could be just like one day, but yeah, just because of the nature of the the market making strategy, we need to have this settlement process to make sure we can properly manage position and user can always get there's no impermanent loss for users.
Got it. Question from Rakshit. Will you add more tokens in the Supercharger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Next question. All right. That's the easy one. All right. So, question from GR Police 99. Where would WOOFi be in the next 5 years? So.
Wow, that's a good question.
George, you want to take that one?
I can have a stab. I think in 5 years' time, we'll be in a very different place. If you think about how quickly crypto moves, especially like technological advancements, even just this year. Think about the fact that we launched in October, right? And since then, we've already integrated with 4 chains. We've launched Woo staking. We've launched Supercharger vaults. We're always innovating at Woo, and this is kind of, I think, what maybe sets us apart from other projects is that we literally sit always on the forefront of innovation. And I think what we could maybe in 5 years' time, I could see some sort of vision of maybe some sort of omni-chain liquidity. I do believe in the future that I feel like the crypto space right now is very fragmented, and I can kind of see these chains, these siloed chains, moving closer together. Perhaps users being able to access opportunities on all of these chains via one giant omni-chain, which would kind of remove friction and make things much easier, and maybe like essentially kind of optimize things much further by drawing on yields from all of these. So I think omni-chain is definitely my vision for how WOOFi might play out in the future. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I think WOOFi will keep adding new features to basically we want to give people the best trading experience on chain, on DeFi. And that's actually a pretty good segue into like some alpha. Like we will most likely launch a new beta product under the WOOFi brand, maybe in the next month. So which will be very exciting. Yeah, we are very excited about that. I cannot talk too much about it, but it will be a very good addition to the current WOOFi features.
Very
and
nice.
the other
Always
thing,
innovating.
I forgot one thing. We in the future we also wanna we experimented some NFT like WOOFi achievement or task based NFT, which we got a very good reception from our user. We launched like a series of NFT for user to complete some simple tasks so that they can earn the NFT. We do plan to we want to actually create utility for the NFT in the WOOFi app. So in the future, when people are engaging with DEXs, they can also kind of play around with NFT. I think PancakeSwap really did a really good job on that. I think we got a lot of inspiration from PancakeSwap.
Cool. And one question from Abdul. So his question is essentially that the supercharged votes look like lock staking. And his worry is what happens if markets, crash, and I need my assets, quickly. Could I get it back without any loss?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, there's always some trade-off, right? Like in AMM, you need to worry about impermanent loss, but in the Supercharger vault, user don't have to worry about the impermanent loss. They can just do single-sided staking. The market maker will handle that for the user. So the trade-off here is as I mentioned, there's this settlement, 1 week settlement process. So when user deposit, we recommend that they kind of assess the time frame for this capital. But since we have this fixed settlement process, user can very easily predict when they are able to get the assets if after they request. And we actually consider this part for some urgent needs. That's why we will always leave 10% of the TVL in the vault for user to to withdraw instantly. But in order to prevent like some people just abusing that instant withdrawal, WOOFi will charge like a small withdrawal fee, like 0.3% on the instant withdrawal, for just in order to avoid abusing this feature. But if you can like just request the withdrawal and wait until the next settlement process ends, there's no fee you can get. You get all the yields.
Got it. But I guess that his question is more around like, would it be like he would be able to get his funds back? It's just a matter of just waiting like a few days, right? There's no risk of him not being able to get his funds back.
Right. Maybe he's talking about when market is volatile, but that's why we need the professional market maker to help manage that exposure, that risk.
Got it. Cool. And I think we're at time. And thank you guys for joining this session, and thank you for everyone who's tuned in, and especially those who are asking very very good questions for our guests. So I think with that said, make sure you guys follow BNB Chain for future events. Also follow Wood Network for their upcoming kind of product releases, and check out their Supercharger votes. I think the APYs are quite juicy, and they have a boost as well running. And lastly, if you guys haven't already, make sure to kind of scan the QR code, right? Complete the quiz in order to enter to win $2,000 worth of BNB. And with that said, thank you guys, and have a good night.